Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Golf Rules Questions Podcast, Australia's #1 golf podcast dedicated to the rules of golf. We are here to answer your questions on the rules of golf. Well, Blake is. I'm just here pressing the record button and trying to get that to work properly all the time. I do a decent job of that, but Blakey does a wonderful job of everything golf rules questions. Blakey, how are you?
Yeah, going really well, Roscoe. I think you don't give yourself enough credit for how this thing gets on the air for the listeners to listen to and the viewers to view. I think you do a fantastic job.
You tell me to turn up and I'll be here most of the time, and we'll just keep on tracking along. Episode 17. Can't wait for episode 18 already, mate. So what are we talking about this week? We're on the back of the Masters. What a great tournament. Interesting time of the year for us to have it. The great thing that it's only another 5 or 6 months or whatever to the next one back in April, touch wood. But I thought it was a wonderful tournament. I was very, very keen to see the course without the patrons. I would have loved for the patrons to have been there, but I just wanted to see that visual of Augusta without anyone on there, and it delivered exactly what I wanted to experience. I hope one day maybe I'll get there. I don't think that I ever will, but it was great to see. How did you experience the Masters, Blakey?
Yeah, without the fans, it didn't quite look as good. I understand you're just trying to see what it would be like when you're playing, but maybe a couple of fans would turn up when they hear the great Ross Flanagan is playing at Augusta. But the forgiveness of the course, the soft greens, the soft fairways, not what we're used to seeing at Augusta, and didn't really provide the true test that Augusta does in that April time slot. Fantastic nonetheless, but just not the same.
Well, it did provide a test for a number of golfers, and some of those we might discuss in golf rules scenarios that we have to raise tonight. So just on the rundown of tonight, we're going to go through the golf rules question of the week. Wonderful segment. We've got last week's question to answer. Then we've got some golf rule situations that related to the Masters. So we've got some videos, and we've got a number of the different imbroglios that popped up during the tournament. Then we've got another one of our great segments, and a growing segment in popularity. And we've got people calling us on all shapes and forms of mispronunciation. So I think you get called on another Ivor. If you want to know what the Ivors are, you can listen to the back catalogue of the episodes if you're just joining us for the first time. If you've joined us for the whole 17 episodes, thank you. Thanks for liking. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for the feedback. Thanks for jumping across to the YouTube channel and engaging on that. And then what else we'll do? Then we'll ask this week's golf rules question of the week. It's just one little way that everyone gets to take away a little nugget, a little bit of homework, and we hope that you go out and search what the answer is. And if you don't know the answer, you come to Blakey because he's the expert. Now, Blakey, last week's golf rules question of the week. What was the question again?
Yeah, so the question was, can you use a club as a flagstick? So say the flagstick isn't in the vicinity where you can just quickly grab it, and someone wants you to attend the flagstick or put the flagstick in the hole so that they can see it when they're playing their shot. Could you, if you're just holding onto a club, just stick your club in the hole as a way of showing where the hole is located?
Why would the flagstick not be in the hole in this example?
So say, Ross, I've played and I've walked up to the hole and I've taken the flagstick out and laid it down 20 foot away because there's 4 of us playing, and I think, no one's going to want the flagstick. Then I go up, tap my ball in, and you yell out from 40 foot away, I just can't quite see the hole, Blakey. Can you put the flagstick back in? Instead of me grabbing that flagstick, I just shove my club in the hole to act as a locating beacon, and you can play your shot. Is that permitted?
Well, now, my homework, I wasn't ever very good at homework at school, and probably I'm still not good at homework, so I'm just going to go with my knowledge and try and wing it, and I did that all through my life, so it's got me somewhere. I reckon the answer is no, and I would say that it's akin to showing someone the line when you're over a hill and you stand on the top of the hill to show them where the flag is, and you can't stand on that line. You can show them, but you can't stand on it.
You are wrong in this case. So you can use a club as a flag stick.
Really?
Yeah. So it's under the definitions of flag stick, interpretation 1. If an artificial or natural object is being used to mark the position of the hole, that object is treated the same as the flag stick would be. So yes, you are allowed to use another object as a flag stick if the flag stick is not close enough. If you just, you're about to putt and I just too lazy to get the flag stick, I can just put my club in the hole. Now, remembering that if I'm attending the flag stick or attending the club that is now the flag stick, I'm not going to allow you to hit it anyway. So I just show you where it is and then I just take it out and move away from the hole. So you won't find it in that book, Roscoe.
Not in the Players Edition.
It won't be in the Players Edition.
I thumbed through, like in my penance, which I'm expecting fully to get a reprimand after this episode for not knowing the answer to the question and then for not doing the research. And I apologise to listeners if you do think that I was somewhat of a guru like Blakey. I've never fessed up to that, so I'm not. So it's not in my Players Edition, which is what I carry. So you just mentioned there you can take it out. So you can show someone use the club to show them the hole and use it as a flag stick. Can you leave it in and putt with it in?
Yes, you could. It becomes the flag stick effectively. And so then you could leave it in, but it's less likely to going to stand up straight. So it might be a hindrance rather than a help. Yeah.
Well, interesting. There you go. Did anyone get that right?
Yeah. We had a few that are rules experts that join us every week for the podcast. Jerry Bauer, Fraser Nickel, and David Grieve. Oh, and also Andrew Miller got that one as well. So they either emailed me or messaged me on Facebook or Instagram.
Very good. Well, I clearly didn't get it right, but it's an interesting one because it's not top of mind for me at the moment because we're so used to playing with the flag stick in. And it's in Melbourne, and I'm not sure about the rest of Australia. I think the rest of Australia, but it's mandatory to leave this flag stick in. We've all got the little swim noodles or whatever version of ball retrieval system, so you don't have to touch the flag stick. So it's probably not top of mind for anyone because they haven't played for a while with a flag stick out. It was interesting when that rule changed, where you could leave the flag stick in, or nominate to leave the flag stick in. I had some interesting discussions with my playing partners at the time where they all wanted just to take the flag stick out and have it out for putting. And I once requested it to be left in. Now that being left in was going to disrupt the pattern of people, the exchange of the flag stick, whoever had putted out and whoever was responsible for the flag. So someone had to walk back and put it back in for me because I wanted it back in. And it was just after a time when my playing partner, referred to it. If someone asked for the putting, the flags to be put back in to putt for shorter putts, it's time to find a new playing partner. So I reminded him that. I said, I actually want to try it with the flag in, from a aiming perspective and a visual perspective more than anything. And I soon realized that it probably didn't work for me because I didn't like the shadow. But interesting. There you go.
That you usually play on a Wednesday, and that's why you didn't play today, isn't it?
I played yesterday and putted with the flag stick in. And the funny thing is, now that we're having to putt with the flag stick in, it's sort of gone back to my original sort of concept where I thought it might have helped me aiming and it might not have bothered me. And it now doesn't. I putt pretty well with the flag stick in and it doesn't bother me whether it's in or whether it's out. So it's just I think it's just a learning and a behavioral and a training thing and a visual thing that you do get used to once you practice and put the time in. So, yeah, I didn't play today. I played yesterday.
Yeah, in a new group that allows you to leave the flag stick in.
Yeah. Well,
but then again, it's compulsory. You have to leave it in at the moment.
Exactly. You know, we're all putting with the flag stick, and you're not allowed to touch it. So
it's quite interesting when that rule did come in. People thought that you only had two options: leave it in, leave it out. You know, leave it in, take it out.
Yep.
But there is still that option of having the flag stick attended, and you're more likely to see that when someone has a caddy, but it's still an option for the players to use.
So in that example, so I'm putting from downtown, and I say to my playing partner, "Can you just attend it for me?" So this is under the current rules of in or out. Can you just attend it for me? And then I put a little bit too much juice on the putt, but it's tracking, it's online, and then mid 40-foot roll, I then think, wow, the flag stick in is probably going to help me here, because if I miss, it's going to go 30 past. Can I say, just leave it in, mate?
No.
Right.
Once you've made the choice before the stroke is made, that is the choice that you must be left with. So if you're trying to get it put back in or left in after you've had it removed or being attended, then if it's deliberately done, you're going to incur a penalty if it could affect the outcome of the ball.
Now, just so everyone does know, I think I did know the answer to that before I asked that question. So I didn't fail flag stick on putting green totally. I'm probably 51%.
Maybe that will be next week's GRQOTW.
Anyway, so we keep moving on. So are we moving on to some Masters scenarios now, Blakey?
Yeah, we've got 4 Masters scenarios if you want to tell the listeners what they are.
So the first one that's popped up here is the Lee Westwood situation. So let me just cue that up, and I will hit
15. And Jason Kokrak second. Oh, that better sit down. And that has come out like a rocket and gone all the way over into the penalty area in front of the 16th. And Westwood just showing some pretty good footwork there to get out of the way, coming through.
So that was an interesting one. So Jason Kokrak's playing a different hole. What hole was he playing again? The
15th.
15th. Hits the ball, yells at Mudball, and which is a weird thing, another weird thing that a lot of Americans like to yell at. It runs long of the intended target, comes down towards the group playing the 16th, the par 3. Lee Westwood does an about halt, moves back out of the way, watches the ball scoot past him and into the dam, which protects the 16th green. What you don't get to see on the audio, obviously on a podcast, and please go over to the YouTube channel and check out the video, is Lee Westwood then pops a T-peg into the ground at the point where the ball entered. So that's the scenario that you want to explain.
Yeah, so first of all, Lee Westwood was able to get out of the way of the ball. If it had hit him and it was accidental, which it most likely would have been, since he wouldn't have been aware of the ball coming hurtling towards him, then the ball was to be played as it lies. If that was in the cut grass general area, then lucky for Jason. If it actually hit Lee and still went in the water, then it basically ended up where it was going to end up anyway. But where it ended up was actually in the penalty area. Lee was able to get out of the way, and then he thought, well, if they don't know exactly where the point of entry, the last edge crossed into the penalty area is, I'll put a T-peg down, and that will assist the player and those other people in the group to know where the last edge crossed was, so that they can take penalty relief. Now, as penalty relief options, and this is an interesting one, and I've had a lot of comments about this, and this is, it would most likely be a yellow penalty area for the 16th, But for the 15th hole, that one behind the 15th green, they could call it a red penalty area. And that is why the player, we don't see where he ended up dropping it, but from all reports, he dropped and played from within 2 club lengths of the last edge crossed. So you can actually have, and this is what I wanted to talk about, you can actually have a penalty area is yellow for one hole and red for another hole. So for one hole, you don't get the lateral relief of 2 club lengths option. But if you put it in that water, which is not supposed to be a challenge for that other hole, the 15th, the water behind the 15th is not supposed to be a challenge for the 15th hole, then they can make it a red. It's still a penalty area, but they can make it a red penalty area, giving you that extra option of within 2 club lengths of the last edge crossed.
So you see that sometimes on different courses where you have like a red and a yellow stake sort of thing, or areas where they sort of cross over. I think we had one at Peninsula Kingswood there when we had a temporary par 3 in there, yellow one part and you red on another part, and it was sometimes confusing, but yeah.
Yeah, so and it's a similar thing for the internal out of bounds. You can have internal out of bounds for one hole and not internal out of bounds for another hole.
Cool. All right, so this next video was one that got the whole golf world talking on a number of fronts, that it happened in the first place, but more so the mental fortitude of the man to bounce back from it. And of course, we can only talk about when Tiger Woods had a 10 on 12. So let's play that video.
To 12. 5-time champion. Have a little look at 12 here. 1997, 23 years ago. Hello World. Won by 12 that year over Tom Kite. 2001, that stands out for me though, because that was 4 straight major championships. No one else in golf's ever done that. 158 yards. He knows where that hole's located. But today, into the breeze.
Yeah, there's enough happening down there at 12 to really get them thinking.
Yeah, right. Agreed. It's on the angle here. Yeah. Let's do something different with that.
Yeah. Did you hear that from Joey? If you feel something different, back off. Reset.
Well, they should be coming down from the right. That's what it's doing on top of the hill. Because we know it comes down and hits the trees and does a quick swirl.
Made the right decision here last year. At the early start on Sunday.
Yeah, low fade, 15 feet left. Boy, mind you, just at 3 under, you'd probably like to make a 1. Oh boy.
One more ball.
Isn't that ironic? A year later.
I was going to say, Nick, there were 4 guys last year hit in the water saying, well.
So there you go. That's the little bit of audio from Tiger Woods hitting the ball into the water on 12, which you'll remember. And as Nick Faldo rightly points out, that's the hole that probably won him the Masters last year, and he leaves it short and sucks it back into the water. But that wasn't the only ball that went in. So what happened after that, Blakey?
Yeah, so he's hit his first ball into the water off the tee, so that's 1. It's a yellow penalty area. So with yellow penalty areas, the challenge, remember, is you got to get over them. So the fact that his ball hit on the green side and then rolled back in doesn't mean that he has the lateral relief option on the green side. He only has the 2 options of, apart from playing it as it lies, the 2 penalty relief options of going back to last place played, which was on the tee, or going back using that last edge crossed in line with the flag. And so he uses that one. I think his yardage for the next shot was about 80 yards or something like that. Might have been 50, whatever it was. He drops it there within 1 club length of a reference point on that line. And then he proceeds to, again, he actually hit it onto the green and spun it back off. And so he again had to take that relief option. So he's 1 off the tee, take a drop 2, hit it into the water again 3, take a drop 4, and then his 5th shot, he ends up hitting it over into the back bunker. Probably just closed the face a lot and was like, I've got to get over this water. So that's number 5. He's in the back bunker for 5. He's in a very difficult position, hitting a 6th shot, and he manages to blade it into the water. So 6 shots in the water.
Wasn't something that you would have. You've got to go back a long way to see a Tiger shot like that. Absolutely. I can't remember one.
So again, his options are for penalty relief, penalty number 7, or shot number 7 for that penalty, is go back to his last spot played that was in the bunker, or go back on the other side, that would have been the tee side of the water, and drop again over that side. He chose to drop in the bunker. He can have it raked before he drops it. So he got it raked, but then he could have dropped it within a club length of his last spot played from. And so that would have probably given him a bit of a flatter lie. However, he might have been thinking, it might have plugged or something like that. But you remember, you're dropping from knee height. It'll plug a little bit, but hopefully not too much. But maybe he got burnt. We talked about last week's episode. Maybe he got burnt and was thinking, I can't drop it anywhere but as near as possible to my last place played. So maybe he was thinking of history and how he stuffed up that one in 2013. So he's dropped it basically in the same spot, had basically the same stance, would have just chunked it 3 inches up before the ball, just trying to get it out, flubs it just out, just onto the green, and then 2 putts. And so the 8th shot out of the bunker, and then putt number 9, and putt number 10 was a tap-in. So that's how Tiger made a 10 on the 12th hole. And after his bogey on the 10th, was 8 over for that 9 with 6 holes to play, and ended up 3 over on that 9.
So what was his scorecard on the way in after the 12th?
Then he had birdie on 14. So that's birdie on 13, which is a par 5, par on 14, birdie on 15, par 5, birdie on 16, the par 3, birdie on 17, birdie on 18. The interesting thing, this is off topic, but they didn't go with their regular, usual pin for 16 on Sunday.
Did anyone have a hole-in-one or near hole-in-one?
He was probably the closest to having a hole-in-one all day, but they didn't have the normal pin position on 16, the Sunday 16th pin, which was really interesting. Maybe it was a bit wet down there or something. I doubt it, but not sure.
Sure, there would have been a reason. It would have been to do with scoring and evening things up, and not having, different scoring scenarios present themselves at that stage of the tournament, which is usually what that pin is there to give someone the opportunity to, create history. So they would have had their reasons, but you're right. Well done. It's not probably something that we'll see in a long time from Tiger, but it was certainly an interesting one. But the bounce back has been heralded by a lot of golf aficionados by saying, if you want to show someone who's thinking about, giving up after a double bogey or a bogey, or, thinking about crying in their Weet-Bix, just show them that, because that is how you bounce back from a bit of adversity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Blakey, sorry, I was queuing up the next video and it just snuck in there. So let's go with the next one. Now, this was a video involving the champ, Big Dustin Johnson. So let's play that one.
Yeah, I think this was on round 1.
Say that again?
I think this was round 1.
Okay, let's go.
His first couple of days
At 6.
begging for it to fade. So when the greens are firm, you just cannot do that. You cannot land it on the left side of the green. That would be gone into serious trouble.
What's Dustin got, Dottie?
Well, he's got it right at hole high, and you would think it would want to go to the low part of the golf course, meaning it would be just a little to the right in the quicker direction.
Yeah, he's a smidgen above the hole, so this probably will break quite a bit. Oops, a daisy. Look what he's got.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, a huge chunk.
Wow. So there you go. What you see there at the end of that vision, and please once again go to the YouTube and you can see very clearly, is he's got a big chunk of mud on his bowl. So why wasn't he allowed to take the mud off, Blakey?
Yeah, great question there. And a few viewers saw this whilst they were watching the coverage and asked me the exact same question. So he was off the green. Now, if you're on the green, you can clean your ball at any time. You just got to mark it first. But off the green, you're not permitted to clean your ball just because it's got some soil attached or sticking to it. Now, you are permitted to remove loose impediments that are near your ball, and even if they are laying on top of them, on top of your ball, but you're not permitted to remove loose impediments that are sticking to your ball, because they therefore are not loose impediments. And as we saw there, the mud was certainly not loose. It was sticking to the ball. So he was about 6 inches off the green, and therefore that is why he couldn't clean his ball. If he was on the green, he certainly would have been able to. But this situation is quite funny, because I think it was in round, it was either at the end of that round or round 2. I think it was at the end of round 1, actually. And it was at the end of the day. He was still playing. They said to everyone, look, we're going to suspend play for light. So we'll come back tomorrow. His ball was in the middle of the fairway. He said, yes. Yeah. Now, with a normal suspension of play like that, it's 3 horns on the 3 blasts on the hooter, and the player has the option of continuing on and finishing the rest of the hole if they've already started, if someone from their group has already started, or they can mark their ball and come back tomorrow. And we actually saw some people were keen to finish, and some players were keen to come back tomorrow. I think Mark Leishman had like a 5-footer or 6-footer, and that was in round 2 on the 15th hole. But with Dustin, he marked his ball. When he picked it up, he actually had a big chunk of mud on his. And so when you're putting your ball back into play after a suspension of play, you can actually clean your ball, or you can have a totally different ball altogether. You can substitute another ball in. So Dustin would have cleaned his ball or substituted another ball in after that suspension of play. But there's only a select few times when you can actually clean your ball when you have to replace it.
Is that just because it makes no sense to say to the players, if you've got a chunk of mud on your ball, you've got to put the ball back the next day with a chunk of mud on it? It's because it's just not going to, it's stupid. Yep.
Absolutely right. Like spot on with that, because, who's to say that where you're supposed to put the ball? You're supposed to put it in your bag wrapped in Glad wrap and try and keep the mud exactly the same. I mean, the mud might dry out and fall off by itself, and then do you get a penalty? There's more. We're being silly here, but there's more outcomes that could result. So it's just easy. I mean, you don't even have to lift your ball. You could leave it down there. And I actually did get a few questions about what if people have left their marker on the green, and do they mow the greens, or do they have to wait till that player's finished and then mow the green? Well, they actually do mow the greens. The green staff will absolutely try and mow the green whenever they can, but they have to be careful not to move someone's marker. Now, if someone's marker does get moved, they just replace it, as estimate the spot where it was, and then replace it. But the green staff will certainly not be wanting to cut up people's coins and markers and stuff like that. Obviously for so they don't annoy the player, but also for their greenkeeping equipment. You don't want to be, having a blade be a little bit chipped or anything. So yeah, quite an interesting little.
Do they just put a normal ball marker down there, or would they put a tee in the ground? Or
no, if they're on the green, they'll put a normal ball marker down. If they're on the fairway, they'll put a tee, or it's a good idea to put 3 tees down. But again, you got this big lawn mowing equipment coming down, cutting the grass. You got to sort of be, told by the officials whereabouts is each person's marker if it's still out in the golf course, so that we don't drive over it. But again, if it has been moved, then the player gets to replace their ball as best as estimated on the spot where it was moved from. But the greenkeeper certainly doesn't want to try and move it.
Very good. Now, we don't have a video for this one, but this fella didn't get to put his ball back where it was estimated to be gone, because it was lost. But it created a bit of brouhaha, because it would appear that Bryson may have been short on some golf rules questions knowledge. So obviously I'm talking about the situation with Bryson DeChambeau, and it was early on in the tournament. Was that round 1?
Yeah, I think it was round 1 as well. Yeah, Ross.
And it was probably one of the reasons for his performance not living up to the hype. Some of that hype from himself, some of it from the media, and some of it from people like us. But he lost his ball in the mud, and you can take it over from there, Blakey. What happened after that?
Yeah, well, how fun is it? Poor Bryson. He's a love to hate character. You either love him or you hate him, and he's just trying to play his best. I find it hard to support him based on, some of the top courses are being obliterated just by length. But at the same time, you're allowed to do that. The rules have allowed that to happen, which is a bit of a shame. But then, we go and see that he struggled a little bit at Augusta. So, Dustin Johnson, his par was 67, but Bryson, he'll have to tune up his game when he comes back there in April. Now, on the 3rd hole, he actually almost tried to drive this green, which is just unbelievable, and hit a little bit left. It's a little bit soggy down there on the left-hand side. There's no patrons, no fans, to help him search for his ball. Gets down there. In spots, you could probably say it was temporary water. And if you knew the ball was lost in that spot, then you could take free relief. Even if it's lost in an abnormal course condition, you can get free relief for that. But they couldn't be at least 95% virtually certain that there was this spot here was exactly where Bryson's ball was, or this spot over here that was exactly where Bryson's ball was. So it was deemed lost, known to be plugged in the grass, in the mud, but not lost, or virtually certain that it was lost in an abnormal course condition, and therefore only option is to go back to the previous place played, stroke and distance, and he headed back to the tee and hit one down the same spot, but they were able to find it this time.
Didn't he have some questions of the official, basically questioning that, it's impossible to lose a ball in the mud like this, so I should be, able to get relief? What was his line of questioning that was caught?
It was along the lines of, so if I can't find it, does that mean it's lost? And yeah, that's pretty much the definition. I mean, as I said, I don't think either way of Bryson. I think it's amazing what he's trying to do, but it's not quite how I see the game. But there's nothing against what he's trying to do, and he seems to be the kind of character that gets white line fever. So he's in the game, his head's in the game, and all he's thinking about is, everything to get the lowest score possible. When he probably knows, he's a smart guy. He probably does know some of the rules, but when he when when the camera's in front of him, he's trying to, calculate 7 times 7, this, times 450 or something, and ask questions that to you and me sound a little bit.
Well, that's the beauty about watching him, because you actually don't know what he's thinking and what's going on. But the scenario that was created for me when I think about the everyday golfer and club golfer, it's probably one that happens more frequently than you might think, especially in the courses that suffer some wetter conditions. And, if I hazard a guess, and this is not casting aspersions on any of my fellow club golfers out there, but do you think that people would be more likely to grant someone free relief if the ball is lost in an area which is obviously wet and obviously, water affected? Do you think they'd be more likely to grant someone, their playing partner, free relief rather than say it's not 95% certain that it's there, go back?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me put it another way. So the rules of golf allows 3 minutes for a ball search. It used to be 5 minutes. What that actually means in clubland is it's now 5 minutes. It used to be 10 minutes. So when we talk about finding 95% virtual certainty, whilst the rule says 95% virtual certainty, which means you've only got a small element of doubt in which you basically know, this is exactly what happened to it. Club golfer would be more like 70%, maybe even 60%, or it might even just be good enough for them just to get over 50%. It's more likely that it happened than it didn't. And so I totally agree with you. A lot of people, if we're playing together and you're like, so what's my only option? To go back to the tee. You go, and you're thinking for yourself, going, that's going to slow the whole group down. Don't worry about it, mate. It definitely would have been in here, and you just drop it there. It's lost in abnormal course condition. Well, they wouldn't even know what the.
And that's the thing, as the person in a group that, having been the person in a group that, should be responsible enough to know the group, and usually that defaults to a lower handicapper. If you are the lower handicap, pace of play, and usually you get by default, the rules questions to answer if there is one. The only thing you can do is say 95% certainty. If it's lost in this area, then you're entitled to the relief. If it's any shadow of a doubt that it's not in this area, then you're not entitled to the relief and back to the tee. And then you see the kerfuffle and the huffle and the edginess that it's probably not, and they realize that they've got to go back. So you can just state it as it is, and you don't have to say, I think, mate, maybe not, maybe I should be right. You just say 95. The rule is 95% certainty in this area. If it's not lost in this area and we're not 95% or more certain it's in here, you're going back, mate. And anyway, you can just tell it as it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one because they were 100% sure that it was lost in that spot. They just weren't 95% sure that it was lost exactly in an abnormal course condition. And your point is right. And I think this leads to another episode where, we talk about the myths of golf rules and how lax it is a little bit when it comes to clubland.
Yeah, well, that's a good topic and a good one that we could probably fill several episodes up with. And lax, once again, I don't want to be hard on any of the newer golfers that are listening, because I appreciate all of the new golfers. I make a living out of people coming into the game of golf, and I get excited when I see a new golfer. And I really see my role is to try and help and to try and do that in a way that's fun and educational. And part of the reason why I'm doing this, because part of my responsibility in the industry is to do something more. And so I played with some guys, and yesterday, and I found myself explaining rules. And these are guys that have got handicaps through social networks and social clubs and so on and so forth, but still not 100% sure of some fairly rudimentary rules. So if you're one of those guys out there that does know the rules, and if you are listening to this, it's just part of your responsibility to try and help make it fun, make it informative, and make it educational without being, punitive and without being, quite harsh with it. Unless people are obviously breaking the rules, then you've got a different decision to make. But yeah, there's a lot of people that are still learning, but that shouldn't be an inhibitor for them to come into the game. And I'd rather be seeing people come into the game and having to learn the rules as they go and as they learn by doing, rather than feeling worried about breaking the rules and therefore not playing. That's just my own sort of thought as we speak about it, Blakey.
Yeah, well, I have the same sort of thoughts about it. I find that the beginner golfer is more inclined to try and learn the rules so that they're not embarrassed when they go and play. The people that I find are less likely or less inclined to follow the rules are the people that have been playing for a long time, and it's just a case of they don't want to change. A better analogy may be driving a car. You're driving a car, a beginner wants to learn how to drive a car, and they see that these things can, that they can cause a lot of damage and injury and sadness. So they just want to learn how to drive a car. And so, the first step, what's the first step after you've sat down and you're in the car seat to drive a car? Put your seatbelt on. So, okay, sweet. Well, that makes sense. It's a safety thing. The most likely, the people that aren't, listening to that rule are the people that have lived through the years where you didn't even have seatbelts in cars, or they were optional whether you wore a seatbelt, and they're less likely to change. Seatbelts. I didn't need them 40 years ago. Why do I need them now?
Well, I'm one of those people that remembers when you didn't have to wear a seatbelt, but still play by the rules. Hey, Blakey, that's a good one. Now let's start to wrap it up. So we've got the Ivors to cover off. You've been nominated by Webbo for one, maybe two. Webbo sent in the police report. Thank you very much, Webbo, for doing that. Where's Webbo? He's in the UK, yeah?
Yeah, he's in the UK. And he's got a question for us. We didn't get to it this episode, but we certainly will get to it in a following episode. Good. We would like Webbo to send it via voicemail, voice message. You can do that through Anchor, or just record it on a smartphone and send it to me via email. I reckon it would be great to get Webbo's voice on here.
Very good, Webbo. We'll come to your question in the next episode, but you have called Blakey on some Ivors. Yeah,
well, I called one of Argentina's finest golfers, Robert DiVincenzo, and it's actually Roberto DiVincenzo. So I was a bit tongue-in-cheek with that one. I was going to call him Bob, but I went to Robert. Anyway, I apologise for that. And then the next one, which I'm probably going to stuff up again, Miguel Angel Jimenez. Are you happy with that, Roscoe?
I'll give you a pass.
I mean, the main reason that Roscoe set up this Ivors, and it was partly his idea, and it was mostly Ivors' idea, was the fact that my Spanish pronunciation is pretty horrid.
I still never forget receiving that email, and it was months ago from Ivor, who is co-named. This segment's co-named after, and the pronunciation of all of those foreign players that play in the European Tour is fantastic.
It was amazing.
Thank you once again, Ivor. But Blakey, Roberto DiVincenzo and Miguel Angel Jimenez.
Yeah, you're a natural. We know that. Stop showing off.
Thank you very much. I would have called him Bobby DiVincenzo too, because I'm from north of the border. My origins are everyone's Bobby. Yeah, Bobby. We Bobby.
So, and Miguel is Michael in Spanish, isn't it?
I don't know.
We call him Mickey Angel.
Hey, and this week's Golf Rules Question of the Week, and another segment, Background Bingo as well. We'll get to that. But Golf Rules Question of the Week for this week, Blakey, the GRQOTW. I think we might get some hats or a T-shirt. Could you see that with a big GRQOTW? I reckon that'd be a seller.
Yeah.
Anyone buying a T-shirt with GRQ or any of the golf? Should Blakey make some Golf Rules Questions merch? Is my question of the week. No, it's not the question, but that's my question. If you could get some GRQ T-shirts, caps, towels, balls, or whatever you like, tell us. Would you pay something for it just to keep, Blakey in haircuts?
Well, we actually have had some interest in merch. So yeah, we'd like to hear more, but we have had some interest from one of our longtime listeners, Macca. So yeah, maybe it is time to get some stuff out there. Now, the question of the week: if your longest club in the bag, except your putter, breaks during a round, how do you measure a club length after that?
If your longest club in the bag, except your putter, breaks during a round, how to measure a club length after that?
Yeah. So you've played 3 holes. Suddenly your driver snaps in half. That was your longest club in the bag, except the putter. Then on the 6th hole, you've got to take penalty relief from a penalty area, or you choose to take penalty relief from a penalty area. The red penalty area, lateral relief, 2 club lengths. How do you measure your 2 club lengths?
Very good. Got it. That's out there. Look forward to your responses on the GRQOTW. Thank you very much for playing. Background bingo. Last week's background bingo. For me, I've gone Southern Hemisphere. Who got my background?
Yeah, well, Andrew Miller got it.
Surprise.
With that, he is a...
Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, no, he kills it. So Andrew Miller got it. And he also got my one, which was Tianao. Okay, how's your Māori pronunciation?
Well, one day I'm going to brush up on the words the haka, and maybe as a Christmas special we might do the haka together on this Zoom. But...
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
Okay.
I think I have had some requests that you go back Northern Hemisphere, but
okay.
We're keeping close to where we love.
So Tiana, on the way out of Queenstown, you drive around the bottom end of Lake Wakatipu and you head up and go through Tiana on the way to Milford Sound. Didn't make it there myself, but I did have a look at Tiana on the map. I can only imagine that it is a fantastic and wonderfully beautiful place. Looking forward to going there, Blakey. Maybe you could take me there on a bit of a golf tour. Imagine that, me and you, Golf Rules Questions podcast on the road in like a Kia camper van or something like that. Geez, that'd be a trip.
That would be awesome. Now, there is only one road in and out of Tiana, so...
I just want to put on the record, I'm a bit more 5-star than that, by the way.
No, I'm not. I could take my swag anywhere. Did I tell you that time that I slept on a golf course in Spain?
No.
Anyway, that's for another story. But Sergio won that tournament. Now, George Ruddenclaw got Tiana, and also my Mr. Blake got Tiana as well because he's played there. But George Ruddenclaw on YouTube got that one. So well done, George.
And this week's background bingo, well, I've given you another tap in, and Blakey, yours not so. So there you go.
Yeah, well, mine, I've been in the city before. For a couple of background bingos. So it shouldn't be that hard. That is a pretty good hint. And your one, you say it's a tap in, but there's no actual golf course in your background. So have you got a further hint to that?
No more hints.
Wow.
Not after people saying stick to the Northern Hemisphere. I will get some more, but this is not Northern Hemisphere. That's the only hint I'm giving, but I consider this a tap in.
Okay, understandable.
I don't know what that tree is. Anyway, could be wrong.
What do you look up? Iconic trees of golf clubs in in Southern Hemisphere.
You'll just know it anyway. There you go. That's enough of a tip. You'll know it. It's a beauty. It's a beautiful golf course. And if you ever get to play it, you're very, very lucky. Lucky, I think that covers most of our golf rules questions this week. We've taken up enough time of the listeners. We appreciate you listening. We enjoy the banter. We try and keep it to the golf rules questions and very specific and on point where we can. But, we're trying to provide information, but we're also trying to provide some entertainment. And I think we do. I think we're going okay. So we might come back next week. What do you reckon?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll come back and, send your questions in, voice messages. We've got Big P from Clubland, got a couple lined up from him, and obviously one from Andrew Miller. So, yeah, we want your questions so we can answer them on the show.
And Webber, there's a challenge for you. If you can come online and give us some voice action too as well, that'd be appreciated. And tell us a little bit about your club, where you are involved. That'd be great as well. Anyway, guys, thank you very much again. And like, subscribe, share, all of the stuff that keeps this podcast current, relevant, and in the ears of as many golfers around the world as possible. The YouTube site is a great reference and resource. The Instagram site gets a lot of activity. Love all of the things that happen over there. And the podcast, thanks for sharing. Thanks for joining us. And we'll see you next week.
See you guys.